Three, two, one, and we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela, and the channel is Be Fabulous You. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking around to see Notes on the News. Notes on the News is my segment where I share with you headlines from my news feed and also my thoughts and ideas and perspectives on those headlines, on the subject matter at large, on the story in general. But it's not news, it's just my notes on the news. I think today is going to be a relatively short day because it's a holiday or whatever, a banking holiday. What is it? I don't know. I think it's some military holiday for this country. Um, yeah, that's what's up. Hey, welcome on the chat. What's new and good?
Be fabulous.
So today I am burning frankincense and myrrh. I just figured we'd elevate with some ancient, vibration. I don't know what the Nguzo Saba is today, but we about to get with that as soon as. Who we gonna be if we ain't us? It's a lot of people. I'm late because I was over at Lisa Cabrera's doing a live stream and I got distracted. But I'm excited to go back and see what's going on and hear it. It was some interesting conversation. So Nguzo Saba, drop your what's new and good with you in the comments. Nguzo Saba, good news in your family, good news in your community, good news for you personally, good news you've heard in the world. Okay, let us see. Give us free. Okay. So yesterday was Nia. Today is Kuumba, creativity. Hey, Kendrick Celestine, how you doing? Kuumba, creativity, to always do as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful than when we inherited it. And I like this concept. I like the idea of, not just our community as in our physical community, but I like the concept of leaving any space. I'm great. Hey, what's up, Shares Life? What is up? What is up? I like the concept of leaving any space that we visit. Are we conscious of leaving it more beautiful, more peaceful, elevating every space that we enter? Are you adding value? If you're not adding value, what you doing? when you leave a space, when you leave a person, when you leave, people should, you want to be adding value. That's what I want for you. That's my vision for you. Yay! So that's the Kuumba, the creativity, figuring out, thinking about how we can leave what we encounter more beautiful than it was before we encountered. How can we bring the love? Are you bringing the love? Hey, Artie Be Fresh, I saw you over at Lisa's. I didn't want to leave, but I had already set up. So we got to do what we got to do. So that's that. Welcome. Let's see what what up, though, Buddha? That's what Iapo said I should call this segment. What up, though? One is not noble who injures living beings. One is called noble because one is harmless toward all living beings. Okay, so I guess also just kind of continuing this whole spirit conversation about Kuumba, are you adding value or are you taking away? Are you adding life and vitality and energy, or do you drain the life and vitality and energy everywhere you go? There are some groups of people, some people who seem to just be takers. They ain't giving nothing. What are they contributing? But best of confusion, but that's not us. We're adding value. We're contributing. We're noble. We're not injuring. We're adding value and beauty and power and positivity and life and creativity and wonderful things everywhere we go. Yay, you. Yay. Okay, so let us proceed with the notes on the news feed from my news feed. Let's see what up today. So y'all heard about this whole Maryland thing. Did you see imagery of it? They had flash floods, and I saw imagery of like a car just like being whooshed down the street. Maryland flooding. Water rages through Ellicott City streets. What's Ellicott City? I heard Ellicott City. Is that another term for Maryland? I am burning up here. I knew when I sat down here it was going to be hot. But that Franken myrrh is nice. I like frankincense myrrh. I never burn it spontaneously. It's not one of my go-tos. Up to 8 inches of rain fell on Ellicott City in 2 hours, according to local media, causing flash flooding. A state of emergency has been declared by Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. So that's what's up. So prayers out to the people. Ew. Prayers out to the people. I guess it was sort of like unexpected. They didn't know it was coming. I've seen a water come up, and it can come up very quickly, and it's sort of like, as it's coming up, what do you do? Where do you go? It's kind of, I was in my boutique, and it happened to be like, it was always hard for people to come and park because they had to park on an incline, and the store was up here. It wasn't that steep, but it was an incline. It was noticeable. And that day I was at the store when the flood happened, or when the rain started coming, and it was like just standing in the store watching. It was like, oh my gosh, like 1 second the street was clear, and then like it seemed like the next second it was like this much water, and cars were getting stopped and they couldn't go through, and it was kind of like, oh, it just, everything happened so quick. And it's like, what do you do? And you could see people who were like, oh, I'm going to try to push through and get home, and some of those people would make it, and then the next person wouldn't make it, and they get stuck, and then they're in their car, and then they're like on top of the roofs. And I'm watching from my store, and I'm like, oh my God, should I evacuate now? Should I stay here? Is the water going to run up? It was like very yeah, the weather is tripping like that in Maryland. So it was like very confusing, and it was like hard to process because stuff was moving so quick. So prayers out. Gene edited rice plants could boost the world's food supply. I don't like this headline because I feel like, I don't think that there are people who are hungry in the world because there's not enough. Mother Nature does not provide enough opportunities for us to eat. I feel like there are people who are hungry in the world because of capitalism, colonialism, and all of the other imperialism, all of the other ways in which some people come and they take and they take and they take. That's what I feel. I don't feel that it's about genetically altering or jacking up what Mother Nature has created to create some super bullshit rice. Boo and gadget. Boo. I feel like, and even for us to, like, we need to have conversations about things that are real. So to have a conversation with me about, ooh, this rice could be a super rice, it could be more productive, and then people wouldn't be hungry. I'm like, if we're going to talk about hunger, let's talk about why people are really hungry, not about, I just, yeah. Okay. Alberto. This is the first tropical storm of the season. Alberto. We talked about it yesterday, that it was already named, and we're like, oh my gosh. Alberto, tropical storm sees thousands flee Florida coast. So in Maryland, we got the flash flood on the Florida coast. Thousands are fleeing. I'm not really sure what's going on with Alberto. I haven't seen the news. I didn't click the article. I'm just seeing the headline, but it's like, it's a lot of movement. And also metaphysically, when I think about it, it's water. Water is cleansing. Water is quick moving, water and air, and so I'm kind of curious to see what these storms are going to do. Maybe things are just going to be washed away, and we'll get a new reset, which we frequently get. We don't always notice the resets that we get. We get resets. Bulgarians tweeting in Cyrillic, confused for Russian bots. So I guess the way that Twitter's algorithm works, now Twitter is like, hey, welcome Bonafide 1970, thank you for the flower. The way that I guess Twitter's computer algorithm system works is that now they're saying, hey, we're looking for Russian bots. Now, I feel like that's a little disingenuous because I bet you they've been known about the Russian bots, and it helped their numbers to have things trending. Like the more the bots do, the better for them. That makes it seem like they have more traffic and activity over there, even though I do enjoy my Twitter feed with the real people. But so now they're like, oh, we're all on the bots. We're all against the Russians. So what we're going to do is when we see these types of characters, we going to flag them. We going to mess them up. We going to, that's a Russian bot. These people are just out here talking in their language, which the Twitter bots, the Twitter computers are getting confused with Russian bots. So the Bulgarians are getting, they stuff is getting jacked up. Yes, they do. I think they do. Right. If they were sincerely trying to ameliorate things, I think there might be some other options. South Africa named first black rugby test captain. I don't know anything about rugby. I don't know what a test captain is. I guess this is some black person who's, made the athletic achievement of being the first black person or the first obviously black or the first identifying as black person to do something in rugby in South Africa. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, on one hand, I'm noting it, but on another hand, I guess I don't care deeply. It's just like for your information. And I don't even know, like now that I've wasted the breath on it, as my mother's husband says, at the end of my life, am I going to be like, dang, if only I hadn't wasted my breath talking about that, I might have a couple more breaths to live. So I don't know. I don't really care. I take that story back. If I could take the breath back, I would. EU proposes ban on straws and other single-use plastics. So now on YouTube, occasionally I see people who use stainless steel straws. We've been talking about plastic. Plastic is ubiquitous. It's like all over the place. It's the water bottles. It's in the water bottles. It's in the clothes. It's in the oceans. It's in the fish. It's in the you can't go to. It's hard to go any place without everywhere. Like trying to like separate yourself from plastic. Plastic is like intense. Plastic is like, talk about an invader and a colonizer. Plastic is like everywhere. If you try to stop using plastic, you're gonna have some challenges. So anyway, we have seen the stainless steel straws, and I was like, oh. Now I remember when I was a little kid, and for some reason, to me, straws were just like fascinating, especially the ones that twisted. The ones that you could turn. I just thought that was just like so amazing. And like whenever I used a straw, I felt fancy. Like if you used the straw at home. Woo! You was really something then. The proposals are aimed at outlawing many commonplace plastic items, including straws, cotton buds. Does anyone know what a cotton bud is? I wasn't quite sure, but it's what we call Q-tips. A Q-tip is a brand name. So I guess cotton tip sticks. And they used to be, I guess now they have plastic and then 2 pieces of cotton. It used to be, the last time I used a Q-tip, it was it seemed like it was paper or wood in the middle. Plastic bag, one, keep them, don't throw them away. There is so much plastic all over the place. Cotton buds, cutlery, balloon sticks, and drink stirs. They could. Oh, cotton buds, Q-tips. But Q-tip is like like Kleenex. It's like facial tissue. My grandmother used to call the refrigerator the Frigidaire, but that was a brand name. It's the refrigerator. And there's something, there's another name for them, but cotton buds, I guess that's what they call them in Europe. So they want to avoid 3.4 million tons of carbon emissions, they say, prevent damage to the environment that would cost the equivalent of 19 billion pounds by 2030. Plastic waste is undeniably a big issue, and Europeans need to act together to tackle this problem. Today's proposals will reduce single-use plastics on our supermarket shelves. But just think of all of the plastic things when you're paying attention. Hey, Rowdy Chico, welcome on the chat. Oh, Bonafide 1970. I didn't thank you for being a moderator yesterday, but I thank you. Thank you, moderators, for being here. So targeting all of the things that we use that are plastic that we just throw away. And it's like this concept of like throwing away, like where do we throw it away to? I know I've said that before, but that just kind of boggles my mind because I think at one point I just felt like it's gone away. And then when I started thinking about it, it was like, oh, especially something like plastic where they say, it doesn't decompose for like 80 gazillion years or some weird stuff like that. So there are alternatives. I don't know if I'm assuming that the alternatives, don't have the corporate support, don't have the money-making potential or whatever. Because just like with health-related issues, there are certainly alternatives to chemotherapy and and diabetes pills or shots or whatever drug, there's certainly alternatives to the pharmaceutical there are certainly alternatives to the pharmaceutical company system, but the pharmaceutical companies don't make money off of it. If I'm out here eating dandelion from off of my front from out the field or whatever, or front lawn, or if I don't have a lawn and just let it go wild, then they ain't made money off of me buying pesticides. They ain't made money off of me, being sick from this and buying this drug, or being sick from that and buying that drug. They ain't made money from so yeah, I guess today the conversation in my head is about like sincerity. Um, it's sort of like, on one hand, you feel like it is progressive to start to deal with the issue of plastic, but I feel like, is it really progressive? Is it too little, too late? And then our principle for today is Kaumba, adding value everywhere you go. And then we talked about the fact that on the other side of that, there, are some people who seem to move in the world in just the opposite way, where they're like taking value everywhere they go. They invest in numerous alternatives if they're smart. Is that what you said? Oops. Okay. Remember to subscribe, comment, like, share, and click the notification button. Yeah, so you never know when I'm going live. So if you didn't get notification and you want to know when I'm going live, then hit the notification bell. You may have to hit it once or twice. I'm not really quite clear how it works, because I feel like now that I'm on YouTube all the time, so it seemed like I get notifications for like 2 or 3 people. That's not a good ad, is it? Hit the notifications bell. Hit it twice. And thank you for being here, liking, commenting, subscribing, and all of that. I do appreciate you. But I mostly appreciate you for being here. Yes, they would invest in clean energy and biodegradable products. Right. Imagine if imagine a world where, where people were doing things like correct and proper and with honor. It's like some key things would kind of shift if they were smart, if they had heart. Okay. High heels raise the odds in China slacklining contest. I didn't even know what a slacklining contest is, but it's sort of like if you have gone to like a circus or something, like those people who they walk on a tightrope, it looks like a tightrope to me, except for these people, some of these Chinese women are doing it in heels because they're raising the odds in the contest. So yeah, slacklining. That might be another story I might take back. Head of Kenya Youth Agency arrested in $78 million corruption scandal. Now, this was a whole, this was interesting. I don't really know a lot about politics or about Kenya, but I guess that someone came into office in 2013, I think it was, and sort of ran on the platform of, we gonna end all this corruption. And then, this youth agency, I guess that what they're saying, what this article coming off of the BBC is saying is that, like it seems like the typical like government scheme, where, okay, so one thing is like, okay, so Bonafide has a company and I'm going to pay you $20 million to provide incense. And then I give you the $20 million and we claim that the incense are in the warehouse, but you ain't gave me no incense. I just gave you $20 million. Like, that's how we moving money around and we lying. But then the way that it sort of seems like it got caught or there was some sort of catch up is that, when the children or the people, I should have thought of something childlike, like books. I'm buying books from Bonafide, but there ain't no books, but you don't got the money and you spent it. But then when the children need books, we don't have no books. So we trying to order books, but we don't have any money to order books because we done just gave Bonafide the money. So it seemed like the typical kind of, system scheme and, scheme of, stealing money. Like, that's what it seems like they do a lot of times in government. Oh, why would people do this? So, and then also hiring, are you being facetious or are you being serious? And then also hiring like friends and family, like, hey, I really like, Rowdy Chica. So girl, come on here and get this wet. Come get this money, come get paid. I'm gonna hire you to be the executive consultant in charge of executive consultations, and I'm gonna pay you, $300,000 a year or whatever. It ain't nothing. Um, so it's sort of sad, like, I guess what kind of caught my attention about this story, or what kind of made me feel the way about it, is like, I guess this desperation that some of us feel, like if we don't steal money, if we don't, this desperation to steal and lie and cheat, like something's wrong at the core of us when we feel like that's a good way to move in the world. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, how much money. Yeah, it's just sad. Like, one, I mean, how much money do you really need? And a lot of these people are like have a lot of money. So then, and then however much money you need, how is it just anything goes to get it? I know it happens, but no one wins, right? And I'm not talking about, like that Lauren Hill song where she's like, you might catch one, but you might catch some, but you just lost one. There's another part of it where it's like, you ain't right. How you gonna win if you ain't right within? Like, you think you winning. Yeah, I got all this money, but you're not winning. That's what I just wish I could just, you're not winning. It's not like a real, win. It's some bull. It's not, but I think we just confused. So, prayers out to all of us who are confused, and prayers out for all of us who are on our continued growth and clarity and connection with truth and light and good and God. I mean, goodness gracious. Do the right thing. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah. And I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, so I'm not specifically speaking to that situation, but I do know that a lot of people are desperados and they feel like they got to do anything they can to make money, lie, cheat, steal, whatever. People will be hesitant to help. Right. Well, people are corrupt all over the world, not just in Kenya, but shoot, you have those same, Zero has his own little scheme going, him and his people. Remember the line from the movie Wall Street, greed is good, is become a highly accepted social value, sad as it is. I never saw Wall Street, but yeah, that's interesting. Um, because maybe, sometimes there are things that are like pivotal in terms of like forming the consciousness of people, and a lot of us, like, until you do right by me, I know a lot of Black Americans identify with that little statement from The Color Purple, or, there are like different things that influence how people think about things. And so, maybe but I just feel like that's imperialism and colonialism, and, that's the American way, is it? I think it is. Um, Several NFL players rumored to give up a season of pay until Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed are allowed to play again. Okay, so the first thing when I saw the headline is, I already told y'all, I am not in favor of, I'm not fighting for Colin Kaepernick or Eric Reed or anybody to be out there getting their head bashed in and, had a brain bouncing around in their head, and then they got traumatic brain injury. So I'm not even, I feel like everybody should leave the NFL and not participate in boxing, stuff that's going to damage your body. For what? They can't pay you enough for that. So, I mean, I guess that's the first thing about the article. The second thing is I was listening to greed as a necessary component of capitalism. Now that's interesting. There's a whole conversation about like socially conscious capitalism, or socially, I can't remember the language, but there's like this concept that I haven't studied, where you can be capitalist but not like just to the extent where it's like anything goes and more and more and more and more and more. And some people argue that just the very nature of capitalism is more and more, it's going to escalate, like debt. Like, once you start on that debt thing, it's going to escalate for the most part. Like, it's not gonna get less, it's gonna get more. So yeah, it might be a necessary part of capitalism. I don't know if I'm like all that, I haven't bought into the concept of capitalism consciously. Of course, I think just by growing up in this society, there are certain things that I have bought into that I don't even realize that I've been bought into. It's just like part of, the conscious, part of what seems just normal to me. It's like part of the air I breathe. I don't even realize I'm breathing it in. It's just, I can't see it, like this frankincense and myrrh smoke coming up. Um, but I do appreciate, and I don't think that those, like, I guess I've been hearing or paying more attention now to like how the hierarchy of sports works. So I guess that the baseball players are at the top, and then the basketball players, and then the football players. A lot of them don't have permanent contracts. It's a shorter lifespan that they have to play the game. This is some of the things I'm hearing. I don't know if it's true or not, but basically they're like the most vulnerable in terms of professional athletes. So maybe they are the ones who are in the position to, I mean, I guess you could look at it different ways. I've been thinking, I don't know, want to say a lot, but this idea that Colin Kaepernick is like a white middle class person. So he has a whole white middle class network to back him up. Whereas some of these young men who are out here, they don't have a white middle class family to back them up. Their family is counting on them to support, counting on the athlete to support the family. They don't have the family to support the athlete, at least financially. The worst aspects of human nature tend to, I missed that part. Yeah, I was listening to Revolution's podcast today. Somebody, Julesy, she did a share on, is Cardi B black, which I thought was really interesting. The share I thought was interesting. The subject, I liked how she was, kind of talking about and analyzing, tend to surface and manifest with material wealth. Yeah, I feel like I need to like read it and like marinate on it, like. um So Colin Kaepernick is like, he's got a cushion, so it's like he can make certain decisions. Not to say that if you have nothing to lose, you can also sort of make certain decisions. And also, I think you can make certain decisions. I think it's just how you process it. Because there are some people who have, a support system who would be like, no, I'm not, I'm here for me. And then there are some people who have a support system who are like, I'm here for we. There are some people who won't have nothing and they like, I ain't got nothing, so I got to look out for me. There's some people who ain't got nothing, and I should put that in quotes too, who are like, I'm here for we. Like I ain't got nothing to lose. I might as well be here for we. So, and then I also noted the fact that we're experiencing a lot of rain, which is affecting my internet. I'm going to have to get off. I enjoyed your chat. Thanks for coming by, Shares Life. Welcome. And I also noted the fact that they had Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid in the headlines. Now, I had noticed that there was often one person sitting next to him, and I think kneeling next to Colin Kaepernick, and I think I figured out, oh, that's Eric Reid. But then the last image I saw, there was like 3 of them. So I don't know if that's like a reflection of the fact that the movement was growing. So depending on when you get the image, is different amounts of people there, or I didn't really know what to make about, what to make of it. But I like that Eric Reid was in the headline, because I feel like so often the conversation goes back to 2 places where I don't think that I just don't feel like are sincere. I really don't feel like the conversation is actually about Colin Kaepernick, and I really don't feel like the conversation is about like respect for the flag. So I feel like when we spend all this time talking about what's up with Colin, does he have a job, I feel like that's really beside the point to me. And when we spend all this time talking about, oh, I support the flag, I support the military, all of this other stuff, I feel like that's beside the point too. I feel like they're distractions from the real issue. My understanding, now I could be wrong, is that I'm not going to stand up and participate in this thing that celebrates something that like is anti-me. And so I feel like the system is still anti-me. Even if he get a job, I think that he was sitting down not because it was anti-me as in Colin, but anti-me as in the black part of me. But anyway, we have got to stop referring to new religions as cults. Now, I thought this was interesting because I think of cult as culture. And I think like a lot of corporations can have cultures or can be cult-like, a lot of, businesses and organizations, not just religious groups. But I do think that there is an element of, if you're and mental coercion is a tricky thing, because I feel like if you have influence over someone and you can advance an argument that, you know, someone buys into, is that, did you brainwash them, or did you just advance an argument that they bought into, you know? Um, and so I kind of feel like, now I do remember a friend of mine when I went to college in New York, and she came later, and she was like going to some church, and I remember one time we were supposed to hang out or something, and she was like, "Oh, you know, they're calling me to say I have to go to church, or they're calling to ask why I didn't go to church." And at first I couldn't really figure out. I'm like, well, maybe they're just calling her because she's concerned. New York can be a very, like, you know, isolating place for a person, especially if you're not situated in a community. If you're in school, have a context, but if you just out here, it's probably very isolating out, you know, even in school it's isolating. And so I'm like, well, these people are expressing concern, but at some point it seemed like it was almost like she was obligated, you know. I couldn't figure, but I think it was a cult. But, you know, like, maybe that's just because I was on the outside and I didn't agree with it. Like, I feel like cult assigns a value system to something, like this is a valid religion and this is a cult. Like, I feel like I could look at, you know, Roman Catholicism and be like, it's a cult. It's a cult of, you know, old white men abusing young boys. It's like the sapling that grows into a tree, right? Well, usually when we use the term cult, it's pejorative. It's not like, oh, it's a cult. It's kind of like, it's a cult. But yeah, everything starts off small. You know, most things start off, they grow. So yeah. Heart failure in the Black community, what African Americans need to know. I didn't read the article. I think, you know, of course there's a conversation about nutrition, but when I saw the headline, it had me kind of thinking about, you know, sometimes, like, especially on YouTube, when I'm watching and listening to people, I notice how, on one hand, I guess it could be characterized as passion, but then on another hand, I get concerned sometimes that, like, it's frustration and anger and just like, you know, that people are expressing. And I wonder and think about, you know, like, you know, when someone says someone died of a broken heart, like, sometimes I think that, you know, I wonder if our heart issues are because our hearts are broken, you know, because of, you know, like, in addition to, like, I wonder if things are intensified for us because, you know, we have so many heartbreaks, you know, personally and families and communities. Like, it's, you know, story after story, experience after experience that, you know, hurts us. You know, it's like, you know. So that's kind of what I thought about when I saw that. I thought I was going to be finished by now. Mamadou Gassama, Mali Spiderman to be made French citizen. So this is the second headline I saw of this. And then I feel like I saw somebody made a video of it on YouTube. So I guess it's some big story. And from what I can gather, the man climbed up the side of the building to help the child. But Mamadou was very, you know, he's very, like, deeply, highly melanated. And he's, I guess, an immigrant. So there's, like, a whole conversation around him and around this issue about, like, I guess it's sort of like the propaganda, like, immigrants are good. You see how this Black person helped? I think it was a little white French boy. See how he helped the little white French boy? Was it in France? Yeah, he's going to be made a French citizen. So I think he's shown his value and his worth. Stress management should be a serious priority for our people. Yeah. Yeah. And we're under a lot of stress. We're under a lot of stress. And I agree. But I think there's, like, an emotional and a spiritual component as well. You know, this, like I feel like it's one thing to, the mind body connection is very real. Yeah. Mind, spirit, body, you know, because I feel like there's a whole other element of, you know, I think that there's stress, like, oh my God, I got to get this report in, you know, like, you're at work, you're like, oh, okay, so I got this deadline, I got to meet this deadline, I'm under stress, you know, people are coming at me from all different directions, we got to get her done, That's one level of stress, and you say everybody in the office on some level is experiencing that same level of stress. But then there's also the level of stress of hey, welcome in Handy Fan with. There's also the level of stress where you walk into a room, and not only are you dealing with this report, but you're dealing with the dynamic of, okay, I'm the only black person in this room, or like that's a whole nother level of stress. And then you start dealing with microaggressions, like things that people might say or things that people might do, or the fact that some people may not look you in the eye. They may never acknowledge your presence. They may talk to a whole group of people and never look at you, and you're like, I've noticed this here recently. I'm like, I do exist, and you like trying to like, not that I necessarily want their eye contact, but it's just kind of like, dang, I mean, what's the impact? It's like you question, I don't know. So I feel like there's stress, and then there's like a whole nother layer of things that we deal with. I think we deal with more stress than most people, but I think that there's also the distress, the I think it's more, but that's, yeah. um so anyway, I don't know if I'm applauding Mamadou Gassama, but I really like that his name is Mamadou. Hey, Rottweiler, I like Mamadou. Oh, that was Amadou Diallo, but I like Mamadou. I don't know, it feels good in my mouth, like Mamadou. Amadou, I like it. 1 million French smokers quit a year amid anti-smoking measures. It made me kind of curious because when I was in France, I noticed that there were a lot of people smoking, or I noticed that there were people smoking. I think the main thing I noticed was that people were drinking sparkling water, and that when you would go to a restaurant, there were like 12 different sparkling waters to choose from. And I'm like, who knew? And I realized that I really, really like sparkling water. But I didn't. So other people have talked about how much smoking there was. I paid them no mind. I'm always the most important person in the room when I'm the only black person, right? And when you're not, we should always be the most important person in the room for ourselves, right? We should be at the center of our world. I feel that, except for the babies, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I do feel like there's all kinds of, systems and strategies and ways, and just kind of like jabs at you. And I feel like you can like keep your head up, keep your head up, keep your head up. It's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, you're constantly working to keep your head up, and the other people are working on their reports. And you got to like keep your head up and work on your report. So I do feel like it's a different thing. So I didn't notice so much. I did notice that there were smokers, but not the way that other people are like, oh my God, so many people smoke. There's so much smoking in France. It made me kind of wonder about, like, in this country, how cigarettes and smoking were marketing, and how they're marketed over there. Is there a difference in the type of tobacco that they smoke, and how is there like their brands of cigarettes, the industry, are the cigarettes there I was just curious about because it seemed like we have a lot of people, like, they talk about how healthy, or there is some conversation about how healthy French people are, because they ride their bikes, and they eat, they have a cup of wine every night. Like, you always hear all these studies sort of like celebrating like the French way of life, fresh bread. What are the things they celebrate? I don't even know anymore, but I used to, I guess, hear it. So 1 million French smokers quit in a year. So they have an anti-smoking campaign going on there. Countries in Asia are looking for ways to counter China's growing power with and without the US's help. It can be stressful if you're highly mindful of your environment. Keeping your head on swivel, attack can potentially come from any direction. When there are a lot of black folks, we get to fellowship. Yeah, and then also I think sometimes it kind of comes at you like, you just think, hey, I'm just, it's and then all of a sudden you get like slammed with something, and you like, so sometimes you're not on high alert. It's like, almost, I'm not saying this is true, but sometimes you feel like as soon as you let your guard down, as soon as you just relax and just be human, and you got to be like, oh, that's right, they see me as this, and so they treat me like that. And I'm so glad I have a minimal, minimal interaction at this stage in my life. It goes up and down depending on what clients I'm dealing with. But so China and its growing power, and the US, the countries are trying to, and so I was wondering, like, I guess if I was trying to understand the whole Chinese, like I remember last year there was China was building like man-made islands in like the South Sea Ocean. China was building man-made islands in some body of water, and they were like disputed areas, and so they were like, "This is Chinese land. We're claiming it." And it kind of felt like it was like an aggressive move, like a land grab and like a power grab. And I guess as Zero's administration has progressed in what they're doing and different things are going on around the world, then I guess there's no one to check China. But then I'm anybody. I don't know, like just the whole world politics thing is really confusing to me. And then I think of like the smaller, countries or whatever, and they're over there with, I guess China is like the big bully, and they're like trying to protect themselves and trying to find allies, or like, hey, if you protect me from this bully, then I'll give you my earrings. They trying to figure out how to like not be attacked or, run over by China. And then it's so like the whole dynamic of what's going on in China and with China, and like with disputed communities. Like the Dalai Lama is from a community, and I guess the community that the Dalai Lama is from, they're like, we're part of China, and I guess China is like, you are part of China. It's like, it's just like, I don't really know how to sort it all out rightfully. It's just like, it's a lot of moving pieces, and so it's a lot to sort out for me. Like I don't have like, this means this, but yeah. Man sentenced to 9 months in jail for violent hate crime against black family shows zero remorse in court. So we talked about this about 3 or 4 days ago, about how they, like, when I was like, oh, I feel bad for Barbecue Becky, and the people are like, don't feel bad for her. And then the next day I'm like, I think Barbecue Becky may be feeling proud, although I heard she left Oakland or whatever, I don't know. But this idea that this behavior that is being exhibited, I guess there had been a culture for a minute in this country of certain behavior being shameful, but I think that that was probably a relatively new moment in the history of this country. I think before that it was like there was no shame in being, I hate black people and I treat black people like boo boo. I hate brown people and I treat brown people like boo boo. I don't think that was like anything you had to be ashamed to say, or anything you had to be ashamed to do publicly. And somebody might disagree with you like as a person, but not like you're bad. And then for a minute it was like you're racist. And now I think people are like, yeah, I'm racist. This is, I think it's like, it's this value system. Like, yeah, I yelled at the 7-year-old boy and beat him and spit on him, and what? I mean, that's what we do. That's who we are. Why should I be ashamed of that? You know what I mean? And so it's sort of like, I think this uptick of certain types of incidents are a reflection of people being more honest about what their value system is, and feeling more comfortable being honest in that value system. Oh, thank you. If you protect me from China, I'll give them to you. um, yeah, so yeah. The more they get away with it, the worse it'll get. Yeah. Well, see, and then this is the other thing. I was on a live stream, and somebody said, and I thought it was really interesting because it's so many different dynamics, but somebody said in the Caribbean, oh, peace, Rowdy Chica, thanks for coming in. Enjoy your day if you celebrate the holiday or whatever. But enjoy your day, period, whether you celebrate or not. Somebody was saying in the Caribbean, we don't have these problems with police brutality, which I actually thought was untrue, because my first husband was Jamaican, and his his mother's sister was the head of the commission against police brutality, at least in Jamaica. But this person asserted, or what I heard him say, is like, we don't have these issues, in the Caribbean, because they know that we will we gonna fight back. Y'all need to fight back. Why don't y'all fight back? And everybody just got really silent. And I felt like it was actually a good question. Like, why don't we fight back? And then it's sort of like this idea of, I think there are so many different dynamics. It's sort of like, do you say that publicly? Can you say it publicly? Are we so trained that, we're like, oh, we're not violent. We would never do anything violent. Like it was just like kind of an interesting moment. And I didn't really know how to process it. I didn't really know what was going on. I wish that I could have been in a room with people because, of course, you get a different vibration when you're in a room with people. But, digitally, I didn't really know what was going on. China will pollute the land and kill all the wild animals in any land that they move to. Yeah, China seems kind of like intense. China seems very, I guess they are, they're over imperializing, colonizing in Africa. There's something, now you can't say it's a whole bunch of people, so you can't say all the people, but that right, they intense. So let me plug this in case I do need to charge it, even though I didn't think I was going to be here long enough to need to charge anything. I don't even know where I was. Oh, so he was sentenced to 9 months for violent hate crime. Oh, and just like, they'll, as long as they get away with it, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And I think that for a minute, they were checking each other. I don't know if we've ever checked them. I do want to read We Will Shoot Back. I've been wanting, that's been on my list. It's been on my mind, like to try to process and understand. And then, this idea of, it's sort of like your last, like, do you take a stand? Like, look, the line is drawn right here and right now. And, yeah, there's a lot of different dynamics. I think that a lot of times our strategy as Black folks have been to show white people, look how they're hurt, look how you're hurting us, look how mean you are. And then white people feel guilty and feel bad, and then they check their brothers and sisters. And I don't know, I feel like it has been effective to some extent. Um, that's like your platform. You forever talking about the Chinese food. Did you find a rat toe in your Chinese food? I didn't even think you ate meat. But you are forever talking about, I don't even know people who eat Chinese food. When I was down south, those Chinese buffets were really popular, but it's like, they don't have no brown rice. What am I going to get? White rice and white potatoes? Yeah, I was not a fan. China has approved, we back on China. China has approved 13 new Ivanka Trump trademarks, raising significant questions about corruption. Here we are again with the insincere, like I feel like, is this like a sincere, real conversation that we're having? Now, I know that on one hand, if you're in a certain position, like even if you know Chinese food, even if you know certain things, when you're in a leadership position, like if you're a reporter, even if you know this is what happened, you can't just be reporting this is what happened. You're supposed to like report the facts. You're supposed to, if you're a journalist, you're supposed to do the research. You might have a theory, but you're supposed to have something to support what you're saying, not just your gut knowledge. Like, I'm like, oh, we all know they're corrupt, and that, what does this headline mean? Questions about corruption. We ain't got no questions about the corruption. We know they corrupt. What are the questions? When is the proof gonna come, and does the proof make a difference to me? No. But I can see where, maybe you don't, just come out and say what you think unless you have something to back it up, And that's like the same thing like in relationships. Like, one of my sisters taught me, you don't have to comment on everything. You can watch and gather more information. You know what I mean? Like, real investigative journalism is very rare nowadays. Yeah, there's hardly any money for it. A lot of papers don't even have investigative journalism. Journalists. There's a some of the stories like the Flint water crisis was that story was broken by somebody who was not a journalist, but by someone who was being paid to do research in a whole nother context. Now I can't remember. But when I read it, I was like, dang, that's deep. Because typically or historically, I get the impression that a lot of big stories have been broken by journalists, and it take time to do the research and find the facts and back the stuff up and analyze it, and you know. So anyway, yeah, I feel like, of course, China and Ivanka and the Trumps and all of them are in cahoots. You cannot take things lightly. Illinois mother turns in her son to prevent possible school shooting. Would you turn in your child to prevent a school shooting? We had the mother yesterday who she got her child out on bail and said she watched after him. He'd been here wreaking havoc before she said she's gonna watch after him, and now they didn't let. So it seemed like we could see the natural conclusion of that story. I can. He beat it. He beat the he beat the teacher. Remember? And somebody said it was a black teacher. I never knew, but I think it was coming off of Atlanta Black Star. So, now this mother has turned her child in. So it's a whole. This kind of. She's tough love, not soft love, but she like, you are, I think you might be up to something, so I'm turning you in. Now it's coming off of Atlanta Black Star, so I'm like, is this a black mother who turned her child in? Because the chances are very, very rare that your black child is going to be a school shooter. I mean, I'm not saying that black children have never been, but statistically, he not really, or she, her son is not really in the running. So anyway, how Africans on social media are changing the image of. Oh, you think there's plenty of money for it? The newspaper, the news industry has shifted a lot over time. Like a lot of people, they don't have like paper newspapers anymore and digital platforms. Like there's been a lot of shift in the news business, not just the news business, but in publishing in general. And so money has moved around. Now, I don't know, maybe they do have plenty of money, but, I know a lot of like, there used to be in Detroit news and Detroit is just a fraction of CNN, MSNBC, etc. In Detroit, there used to be two newspapers and now, I think they're consolidated. And in a lot of places, like when I was in Mississippi, they didn't have a Hattiesburg newspaper. They had one or two people on site, but they were like a Jackson newspaper, but they used to have a Hattiesburg paper. They claimed to have a Hattiesburg paper, but it wasn't really. It was like a Jackson paper. I like this idea of Africans on social media changing the image of Africa. I think I like that. I like the idea of, us telling our own stories to each other, us being our own news source, us being our own, like I feel like yeah. I feel like we should be, we should be getting our information from us about us. After putting the brakes on their divorce, Dr. Simone Whitmore celebrates anniversary with her husband. I saw this, somebody did some video and they like, she better be glad she went and got that man because I had already sent him a DM because he's a good man. He make over this. I was like, oh my gosh, like, and they say these people are watching they say people are watching them and they after him, and she showed what she like. I was after him. If she hadn't gone back and got him, I was trying to get him. I'm like, well, okay then. But anyway, I was glad at the reunion. This is Married to Medicine. I was glad at the reunion to see the group trying to gather together to like heal the relationship. I don't know if it was made for TV drama, but it was like made for me drama. Like, yes, fight for the love. I was like, oh, so, and I liked how everybody was like trying to help them. Like the whole group was trying to like love on that couple. I was like, yay, love on. Years ago when I first heard that, I'm like, what does this mean to love on? I don't understand. And now I just said it. Savannah students forced to return yearbooks after N-word is accidentally printed. Y'all understood that? So they got the yearbooks and it had the Nigger in it. And so the children had to return the yearbooks, and nobody knows how it got in there. It's a mystery. It's a, SSDD. They just out here testing their boundaries, seeing what they can get away with, just being who they are more fully and, unapologetically. World Cup 2018, being black in Russia. Of course nobody knows. It's a mystery. It's so confusing. How did this happen? World Cup 2018, being black in Russia. So it's a whole thing about black folks in Russia. I didn't really look in it. So I guess there's this tomato called the Paul Robeson, and I think it like started in Russia because the Russians liked him or something, or I can't remember what the story was, but there was something associated with him. But he's like American, so I'm like, I don't know anything about black folks in Russia. I know when I went to the Netherlands, every once in a while I would see someone who seemed to be like a native of that country, or like, born there, or but there was like some anti-racism thing I took a picture of, but I didn't see very, very many black and brown folks. Most of the black and brown folks I saw seemed to be like, we just moved to this country like 10, 20 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 40 years ago, or, not like my family has been in this country for generations. So I don't know much about, black folks in Russia, what the history is, what the context is. Yeah, I don't know. But the headline made me, I don't know if it didn't make me want to click the article, but it kind of like, White man gets prison sentence for ethnic intimidation after years of harassing black neighbors. How the U.S. and Rwanda have fallen out over secondhand clothes. So we saw this story come on the news feed probably a few months ago, maybe more than that. Or not this particular story, but this whole thing about, I guess, and I knew this because like there's a secondhand store that I go to, and somebody hit to where I used to go to, they closed it down. But somebody told me that, after if the clothes stayed there for a certain amount of time, they get sent to Africa. And I'm like, sent to Africa? And they're like, yeah, sent to Africa. Or the ones that are in bad condition get made into rags. But there really weren't any in that store that were in bad condition that I could see, I guess when they first come in, maybe when people donate, they would send some of them, make them into rags. And so there's this whole thing where some of the African countries, I think 2 or 3, have said, this is undermining us. Us taking your hand-me-downs is undermining us spiritually, emotionally, like we living in secondhand clothes. That's not good for us. And it's also undermining our business. Like we have our own culture and our own businesses making clothes. But if people can get, American hand-me-downs for 2 cents, it undermines, the local indigenous, it undermines us and our people. So no, we don't want to participate in that. Give your hand-me-downs to somebody else. And then there's some agreement that that these African countries are involved with. So some of the African countries, after they got pushback from the United States saying, you better take my hand-me-downs, because there's some tax benefit probably that these corporations get or these companies get, and they don't want to lose. I don't know what the what the investment is in sending hand-me-downs to Africa, but there's some pushback. Like, no, you can't not accept, this. Is it a gift? Are they buying it? How does it work? When did the dispute start? March 2018. The U.S. gave Rwanda 60 days notice that it would be suspending the landlocked country from selling clothes to America duty-free, a status it enjoys under the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. So that's the Rwanda's financial, they want to get along with America so that they can sell their clothes here duty free. Where do we buy Rwandan clothes in America duty free? Like, where is the market for it? Is it a big enough market that this is even a conversation? It makes it seem like it's a big enough market because we're having a conversation, but I just can't even imagine that they would cut aid to their countries. So that's the first thing that kind of confuses me. Where are these Rwandan clothes being sold duty free? And is it Are y'all making like millions of dollars on it, or are you making $4? Like, I don't understand what the, yeah. Mm. The native people giving blankets with smallpox on them. AGOA is the flagship U.S. trade legislation designed to boost trade and investment in qualifying African countries by granting duty-free access to 6,500 exported products. Now, I remember when I was reading, when I was just the book I just got finished reading, The Debt, there was a whole conversation Randall Robinson was having about these trade agreements and how bad they are for Africa, and how it's just like it's kind of foolish for us. I mean, of African descent, so when I say us, I mean for us Africans to be engaging in these agreements because they don't really serve us. But we feel so vulnerable to imperialism and colonialism and the big boys that we just feel like we have to go along, and we don't feel confident enough that we could like stand up and fight. And okay, I'm drawing a line here and now, and I say no, no, no. And the line is drawn in the sand, and that's it. It's a wrap. It's done. No more. I say no. It all stops now. We don't have the confidence to do that and suffer the consequences, or experience the consequences, the benefits, the blessings, whatever that comes along with drawing that line and being like, no, no, no. So that's kind of how I interpreted, Randall Robinson's analysis of it, and it kind of feels something like this here. So, like, because I feel like, when is it to our benefit to be is it really, like, how is it benefiting? Like, I just don't believe that any of this stuff benefits us. I feel like it benefits them, and so why are we still participating in it? So I mean, I just feel like it's fear of being shot, and it's like I feel like there's so many different dynamics, but ultimately at some point, somewhere, somehow, we're gonna have to say no. It's like if you're in an abusive relationship, at some point you have to be like, no, no. You can beat me, you can kill me. I'm not gonna just stand here and wait for you to beat me and kill me. I'm about to, but no, I'm about to go and live my life. Um, they need to back all their waterways also. Um, hey, Miss Angela. Angela's Unite. Angela's Unite. So, I guess I feel like in the same sense that you can think, oh my gosh, it's so complicated. There are so many different dynamics. He groomed her. She didn't just walk in one day and he smacked her and then she's like, yay, I'm going to marry you. There was like a process of like grooming, so that when he smacked her and then he apologized and then he punched her, then he apologized and he kicked it out and he apologized each time. The apologies, as there's a whole system in place. It's not just like, well, just leave. If it's not, if you don't want to be beat, leave. Well, you're staying there, that means you want to be beat. I feel like it is complicated, but then I feel like there is in all of the complication, there is just that one like moment, or that one space where it's just like it's no complication. It's like no, or yes. I say yes to me, and I say yes to my life, and I say yes to my will, and I say yes to me. I say yes to me. Yes, there's that one space of yes. And if I feel like if you can find that and connect with that one space of yes, then it can give clarity through all of the other mess. Find your yes, and it'll give clarity through all of the mess. So I don't know, when I look at it, it looks really crazy. Like, I just already intuitively know that it is not for Rwanda's benefit. Right. I know, right. I mean, and that's like, we have to, I mean, I'm not saying it's like that is a dynamic. I think that I imagine that is a dynamic, that we, or America has done such a good job of selling, itself as the be all to the end all to be all, that sometimes it's difficult to process beyond that. But I feel like, on a personal level, like, there was like they did a job on me. I feel like I had that experience of like, the best thing to be is, well, I never thought blonde and blue eyed, but light skin with long straight hair. I mean, whoo, there's nothing better than that. And at some point, you like I was, how I shouldn't say at some point, but through a lot of work, I was able to like get out of that spell and be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And I think that, we can be like, oh, the best thing to be is, in America and Americans. And then at some point we have to figure out how to be like, no, we good. We the best thing to be. We at the core. We're at our core. We're centered on ourselves. We're centered in ourselves. So yeah, I don't know. I don't, the logistics zero is helping with that fallacy though. A lot of folks are now giving America, get, oh my gosh. You think people are looking at America better because of zero or worse? So anyway, so they say that the headline says that America and Rwanda have fallen out. And that's another thing that I think is sort of like, I guess on one hand, I feel like it's not an even fight, much worse. Oh, a much needed side eye. Right, right. Should know that the white man is a con artist. Yeah. Somebody said, I was on the Lisa Career chat, and somebody said that something about it's a Ponzi scheme. The American dream is a Ponzi scheme. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I think that is, and it's built on the backs of Black folks. And I was just like, oh my, oh. But this whole concept of a Ponzi scheme is like you selling something that does not exist. Like it really is not, it's not true. And the more I study, the more I pay attention. I'm like, all of this, like, is nothing true? Is there nothing that I can believe in? And it's like, I mean, there are things that I can believe in, but a lot of the things that I was taught by the system, it's like the emperor has no clothes. Hey, the real Aaron Collins. So, yeah, I love that. I can't even remember who it was, but I like said something to him. If they're talking, they're lying. That's what they say about addicts. If their mouth is moving, they're lying. So that's that story. And then there was one more story, and I just came out of my thing accidentally, that we had on the news feed. So I'm going to go back to that. Dang, we still took, I shouldn't say I just thought it was going to be a short news day today. Parents are fuming after an entire 8th grade class. Oh no, that's yesterday. Y'all heard about that though? The 8th grade class all got, the 8th grade class, the Black kids all got text messages with NIGG, whatever, just harassment and bull. So the last story of the day is LeBron James just pulled off what his former GM called unprecedented and perhaps the most impressive accomplishment of his career. I don't know. I'm still like, I haven't watched any games, but I'm still here for headlines. If they're breathing, they're lying. I'm still here for headlines on LeBron James. And what are we doing? So Kaumba, telling the truth, peace, adding value, staying focused on us. So that's it. That's this edition of Notes on the News Feed. What are you looking forward to today? You barbecuing pigs? Y'all got pigs in the pit? I don't know if I feel sad, because it's kind of like I feel like, the idea of like a whole animal just laid out being barbecued. Like I tend to imagine myself like laid out over the fire, spinning around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how awful. But then I also feel like, wow, I never really got into pork. Like if I went to like that, maybe I would have like had some really tasty, delicious pork. That's just random thoughts that go through my head that I probably shouldn't tell anybody. So I didn't tell you, you didn't hear it. So what are you looking forward to today? I'm about to get my walk on, just finished pumping iron. Ooh, I went out walking this morning. It was like around 9. and it was already vegetarian. Barbecues are possible. Love the stream came late. Well, you know, you can watch. Oh, that reminds me. Thank you, Miss Angela. Everybody check out everybody's page. And that reminds me to remind you that I just record live because that's convenient. And because now that I've been doing it live, I love any little interaction I can get. I'm just so thirsty. The thirst is real. I got a video up saying, is the thirst real? And now I can't even remember whether I thought it was real or not when I made the video. But the thirst to interact with the people is definitely very real. But I just recorded because I started that because it's convenient. So you know, it's designed to be, you know, the news for the day that you can watch at your convenience once I've recorded it. And from the universe has your back. Does the universe have your back? The word for today is, when I accept the love of the universe as my primary teacher, I will always be guided back to the light. I think we had this one just the other day. And I think now that my screen has flipped, y'all probably can't read that anymore, but you can still look at the pretty picture. Ooh, makes me, this deck makes me want to like watercolor again. Now, how many cards are in this deck? Because I've only done like a 52 card deck. I think we've only done like 5 or 10. So I don't know why we looping back around to the, oh, bless you. Same here. Same here. I feel there's something sad to me about YouTube. I don't know if it's sad, but you know, because I feel like I start to like make connections with people and build relationships with people. But YouTube is like very, except for like now the live stream is more interactive. And I guess you had comments before, but it seems like, I don't know, like it's some people who like if they died on, you know, and I just never saw a video again, I wouldn't know what happened to them, but I would want to know like what happened, where are they, what's going on, or, you know, I don't know. It seems kind of like, as much as I enjoy the interaction, it's something a little frustrating or like, you know, about it, you know, it's kind of like limited, I guess. First of all, it's one way, like you don't put up any content. So, but then other people who do put up content, it's not this, you know, it's just, I don't know, but I enjoy it. So that's what we got for that. Remember, Kuumba was the Nguzo Saba Habarigani Kuumba for today. And just really adding, our interpretation of that today was adding value and adding beauty everywhere we go. Whether it's, you know, in our mind, in our body, with our words, in our spirit, enjoying the rainy breeze. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I went outside and it was so hot, even at like 9:30. And it used to be in the summertime, like especially down south, I do my walks at like 6 or 7 in the morning because it would be too hot already. But I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that it's so, that it's hot so early. Oh, that's what I was going to do. So, thanks, darling. Thank you, darling. Thank you, darling. You're absolutely fabulous. We should replace the days of the week with the Nguzo Saba. Yeah, you should take the leadership on that. I start to get twisted around a little bit sometimes. Like, I'm like, which one did we do yesterday? And I did see like a little small thing of, hey, the underrated darkness. I did see a little bitty small thing of paint, and I was like, I'm gonna chalkboard paint, and I could put up. But yeah, and I think were you the one who was saying that you wanted to like, well, this should be the first day and this should be the second day, and you seem to have some opinions about that. I'm just really excited to be thinking about it on a more regular basis.
Be fabulous. Be fabulous.
So if you're just coming in now, we're winding down.
Be fabulous. Be fabulous.
You can drop what you're looking forward to in the comments. Who we gonna be if we ain't we? Who you gonna be if you ain't you?
Be you.
Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. When I first heard this song after I recorded it, I was like, ew, but it's really growing on me. This is my jam. This is my, hey, Frank G. This is the jam right here. Much love to you, beautiful sister. Oh, I remember that. Always remember that you are a queen. Always remember that you are a king. Yes. As Queen Mother says, you know, you're royalty. I love that song. It's gonna be on you what is it, YouTube? What is that thing called? Dang, you know where you pay 99 cents for the song? We got to pump it up. Some of these people have talent. But that was supposed to be our countdown time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It is on purpose that we are all here together. You are blessed and you are a blessing. Thank you. It's funny when I go on other people's streams, peace, and they sing the song, and some people know it and some people don't. And when people don't know it, I kind of give them the side eye, even though I should be happy that they just singing it. But I'm like, it goes like this. But anyway, so go out and just enjoy your day and continue to be the blessing that you are. When I watch your video, I just love it. Yay. It's a mutual admiration society going on. Today is the best day ever, and you is good, you is kind, and you is important. Hey, Sonya C's, I didn't know you were here. So again, if you're just coming on at the end, loop back around and watch it on the replay. Not Sonya C's, because she's not going to. But peace, peace, peace. Today is the best day ever. You are the #1 stunner. Be you, be fabulous you. Peace.